Hi, my name is Caroline Donovan, and I am an occupational therapist who owns Starfish Occupational Therapy, PLLC, a nature-based private practice. Thank you all for listening today. Today's presentation will include a brief overview of why I created my business and its model, the Contigo nature therapy approach, and strategies for executive functioning, sensory regulation, and emotional regulation. First, I would like to present a brief history of how I created Starfish Occupational Therapy. While working during COVID, I witnessed a need for community-based approaches to address children's transitioning, emotional regulation, executive functioning, and sensory regulation skills. How many of you have noticed in the last couple of years that your children are less social? Are your children more avoidant to textures or sounds? Did you notice any increased meltdowns and difficulty with problem solving and decision making? While working at my prior outpatient position as a licensed OT, I observed that some of these were the byproducts of the lockdown. The skills the child and I worked on for an hour in a weekly setting felt very temporary when compared to being practiced in the home and nature environment. After piecing together many evidence-based approaches, I started my own nature-based occupational therapy practice to address the deficits that were more apparent since the pandemic. I specifically focus on working with children from birth to 18. And now a little bit more about Starfish and why outside. Research supports using nature as a healing and grounding model in therapy. Therefore, our sessions are all held outside. According to psychologist Cheryl Fisher, children benefit from 3 to 5 hours of daily outdoor playtime. Contrast that with the Kaiser Family Foundation Study, where kids ages 5 to 18 spend an average of 7 hours per day on screens. This adds up to 3 months of a year. A growing number of children are experiencing sensory overstimulation, lack of sleep, hyper-aroused nervous systems, and the inability to concentrate. Does that sound familiar? There are scientific proven benefits to being in nature. During outdoor play, natural chemicals are released in plants and trees. Serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin, and immune boosting transmitters are released. This transpires to the children feeling less stressed, ready to play, improved problem solving, and a more developed sense of purpose. The research through the Nature peer-based review shows that exposure to nature has improved academic performance, improved empathy towards others, increased emotional resilience, improved sleep, and better motor coordination. Therefore, I chose to integrate the Contigo nature therapy approach into my practice. This has not only helped children build developmental skills, but also grow their confidence. Contigo stands for connection and transformation in the great outdoors. Connection refers to the child's connection between the children, therapist, and the outdoor environment. Transformation stands for the evidence-based strategies used in the therapeutic outcomes. The great outdoors is used as a co-facilitator in the therapy process. These 3 pillars of the Contigo approach lead to a child's success. Now, why starfish? Interestingly, starfish can regenerate their arms, which signifies growth and renewal. However, it takes a year's time for this growth. This symbolizes a child's developmental process, which also requires time. Each tentacle of the starfish signifies our mission. confidence, grit, grace, character, and knowledge. Let's look at confidence. Have you noticed children have less confidence due to increased demands and decreased emotional regulation from a host of factors, including social isolation and social media? Children's confidence has taken a hit. We build on the child's strengths while integrating the curiosity and wonder of nature. Using a child-led approach, the children are encouraged to explore and create. For example, during a nature-based session, a child found a hidden wooden plank, which he imaginatively converted to a balance beam. While addressing his goal areas of emotional regulation and gross motor coordination, the child initiated and planned an obstacle course. He was so proud of his creativity and invention. This builds confidence. Next, let's talk grit. Do you notice your child quitting easily on tasks? Executive functioning skills allow children to successfully participate in daily activities. This includes building on a child's resilience, self-control, problem solving, and motivation to set and achieve goals. For example, a 5-year-old male frequently quits when tasks are too difficult or non-preferred. I am sure some of you can relate to this issue. In one session, motivating him to jump was difficult. However, integrating nature motivated him to jump while using a pile of leaves. We jumped over, we jumped in, we jumped on the red, and we jumped on the green leaves. It is amazing how these creative and challenging yet simple activities increased his determination and perseverance to jump into even more piles. This also offered a unique sensory experience in proprioception, vestibular, and tactile input. At the session's end, he was so proud of himself for sticking with a non-preferred task. Integrating these small successes are foundational to building grit. The third and fourth tentacles are grace and character. Grace and character refer to the general behavior and attitude of being polite and welcoming to people. This kindness is extremely important for building friendships and relationships. This is where our monthly outdoor sensory groups come in, where we encourage children's growth with interacting with peers. For example, one group was tasked to build a fort using twigs, sticks, and trees in the woods of Ridley Creek. All 5 members had their responsibilities, and they were expected to communicate with one another to complete this task. The children were so thrilled by the end product of their fort and also had a blast working together while relying on nature. The OTs facilitate appropriate regulation, attitudes, and behaviors for success. The last tentacle is knowledge. There is no question that I rely on the collaboration with parents to first and foremost understand the strategies utilized so they can consistently practice the empirical OT tools in their home setting. How many of you have heard that your children may exhibit different behaviors from one environment to the other? Sometimes in a therapy session, the children may cooperate, yet at home, parents report difficult emotional regulation and executive functioning. I believe in the team approach to set goals and educate the parents. This enables the parents to transfer the skills in all settings. Each week, I sit down with the parents and discuss the child's strengths, home exercise programs, progress reports, and continued goal setting. I now will describe the therapeutic process for self-regulation, sensory regulation, and executive functioning. First, a self-regulation goal may look like this. The child will manage emotional regulation to frustration by choosing to take a break in an established safe place. I would deliberately incorporate the Contigo approach, which stresses that sensory regulation is made up of both, emotional regulation is made up of both sensory regulation and executive functioning. The strategies would include going on a nature walk or feeling the cool creek water to calm the child's system. Evidence-based practice includes question asking in sessions and encouraging children to assess their own thoughts, actions, and behaviors. An elementary school female easily becomes upset with new and adult-led activities. She presents with screaming, crying, and avoiding the task. Across multiple sessions, I presented an outdoor hammock in play. She was apprehensive. During each session, I asked questions about the specific activity and her feelings around it. This included, I see you are frustrated. Would you like a break or do you want to continue setting up the hammock? How can we get your body to look just right? In this scenario, I am prompting her self-awareness. Next, to improve sensory processing, a goal may be a child will wear weather-appropriate clothing, either a rain jacket or boots. If, for instance, a child had aversions to clothing and textures, what's better than having an outdoor rainy session? The child could be encouraged to put on rain boots and a rain jacket to work on his tactile aversion through highly motivating play by creating mud desserts using worms and rainwater. Sensory systems are foundational to activating higher level cognitive skills. The Contigo approach reports children who have immature sensory systems often lack emotional control and can't easily rely on the higher level thinking areas of the brain required for executive functioning and self-regulation. Do some of you have children who exhibit sensory seeking behaviors or sensory avoidant behaviors? Either way, an exposure to multi-sensory experiences is crucial. Next, an executive functioning goal may look like this. The child will persist on a challenging task for 5 minutes with verbal cues from an adult, demonstrating improved perseverance for participation in play. One of my favorite executive functioning activities is creating nature-based maps. The child hides an item in the woods and has to create a map by drawing nature's elements for the therapist or other children to find. The child creating the map initiates, plans, problem solves, and executes the task. The child reading the map and finding the item works on perseverance, grit, and problem solving. According to the Contigo approach, executive functioning includes higher level cognitive skills such as working memory, inhibiting impulses, transitioning, initiating and executing tasks, problem solving, and regulating emotions. To summarize the main focus of my business, where I incorporate all of the above, we offer nature-based individual occupational therapy sessions at Ridley Creek State Park, your home, or nearby outdoor parks. One-on-one sessions are the main focus of my business. I excel in sensory activities with mud pancakes, scavenger hunts, sailboat building, and puddle jumping. We also offer monthly outdoor sensory playgroups where we create games comparing the textures of the surrounding environment, whether it's the bark of a tree, the smoothness of a river rock, or the tickle of a grass. We integrate turn taking, teamwork, problem solving, and sensory regulation development through sailing homemade kayaks, relay races, pumpkin bowling, and nature crafts. Our next group is an alpaca farm on December 10th, where we will have the opportunity to touch and feed the alpacas while building confidence with animals and peers. We have separate groups for children ages 4 to 13. Lastly, this summer, we will be hosting outdoor summer group therapy at Ridley Creek State Park for various ages, including 4 to 15. Now, I want to share empirical techniques that I practice when addressing emotional regulation, sensory regulation, and executive functioning skills. How many of you feel like you can't cope some days, but you can't always be at OT? First, I start my sessions with a daily mantra. It goes like this: I am kind, I am smart, I'm a good friend, I am brave, and I will try my best. The more repetitions this is said, the children will begin to believe the words and gain confidence. Building confidence is the first step to addressing emotional regulation, grit, and executive functioning. Parents can help in setting an age-appropriate daily mantra. Secondly, using two strategies, unstructured and loose parts play, develops curiosity and is a strength-based approach. Unstructured play is a child-led approach where children create and imagine on their own without adult interruption. Research shows that unstructured play fosters cognitive, social, and emotional development. Unstructured play encourages conflict resolution, brain integration, mastery of new skills, social awareness, and cause and effect thinking. The theory of loose parts play explains that our creativity is affected by the variables in our environment. Loose parts play includes children playing with sticks, logs, twigs, and leaves to invent and create. This unstructured play approach encourages children to develop executive functions, slow down and regulate themselves, experience various senses, and build flexibility and adaptability. Recently, my favorite loose parts play was the werewolf Halloween trap a children of 3 boys built using fabric, long sticks, and leaves to scare away the werewolves. Next, an approach written by Mike Fogel, who is a local art therapist and counselor. He talks about using positive praise and reflecting on your child's actions, and this will increase their self-awareness. For example, instead of saying good job or don't speak to me that way, try I am proud of you for sticking with a difficult task. I love how you walked away instead of getting frustrated. You problem solved that situation really well. I see you are frustrated. Let's go take a break, and then we'll talk about it later. Through this approach, your children will learn that they do have the capacity to calm themselves down. You are encouraging them to take ownership while using adult guidance. Let's talk about when your child is entering the fight or flight phase. They're screaming, hitting, and running away. Critical to realize at this moment is your child does not have the cognitive flexibility to problem solve. This is a great time to add sensory input. First, use minimum words because your children do not have the cognitive ability to understand or reason. Then offer a sensory experience. In my sessions, we have a sensory calm spot already picked out. We talk about the calm spot when a child has cognitive function to grasp the concept. In nature, we like to set up a hammock and create a calm down bottle with river rocks and creek water. The children can turn to watch the rocks' calming effects. When the child is in distress, he can utilize this mindfulness approach. For older children, they can create a calm spot or a cool spot using a couch, a beanbag chair, whether that be in nature, in their room, or their basement. The nature-based approach offers calming sensory experiences for children to reset in an overstimulating society. Prior to homework or a non-preferred task, encourage outdoor unstructured playtime. A simple mindfulness and regulatory tool to help children and encourage them to be fully present includes this. Talk about 5 things you see outside, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. This is a very mindful activity that can help children avoid that overstimulation in society. Well, thank you so much for your attention and for listening today. You can contact me at caroline@starfishot.com if you have any questions or are interested in any of our services. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.